FORA.tv. The world is thinking.
Could you please comment on banking and financial language, its intent, its effect on the population? For example, derivatives or credit default swap.
Well, these are terms
wonky,
that,
we're
in a way,
wonky.
as I say, they're like the military terms like daisy cutter that appeared in the language for a little while. And my sense is that they're beyond the comprehension of most Americans, certainly beyond my comprehension, and that although they're in the news now, they're not going to be part of the American vernacular. What's interesting is the way that the meanings of certain of these terms have changed. Home equity loan was introduced in the late 1970s, early 1980s by banks who felt that the notion of a second mortgage was a little I mean, people had second mortgage. That was a sort of desperation thing to do. So we're going to introduce these new products called home equity loans. And that was the new, shiny euphemism for these second mortgages that people didn't want. Well, and this is an excellent case of reality catching up with language, home equity loan is no longer a shiny euphemism. It's tainted with the same kind of bad associations that second mortgage had at one point. So I think those parts of the language that do the financial language that do enter ordinary usage rapidly become adopted to the needs that people have.
Let me ask that question a slightly different way. Maybe this is where the audience member was going with this too. Is it possible that the technical, almost impenetrable nature of those words was exactly the sort of thing that masked what people were doing with those financial practices, made it complicated for people to understand in the first place?
I don't know if it made it complicated
policy?
for ordinary Americans. It was complicated enough. I think it may have made it complicated for the regulators.
Or the regulators, for that matter.
And the oversight bodies, who had no idea what any of this stuff was about, and yet had to pretend to understand it. I think it's also interesting. I mean, certain of this language has worked its way into the American vocabulary as people become, in a certain sense, more sophisticated about this. I was tracing at one point the word economy itself. There's a Bruce Springsteen song that goes, lately I ain't been working much. It's one of these first-person narratives, populist narratives. I ain't been working much on account of the economy. Now, that was a sentiment that you might have found in a Woody Guthrie song, but he would never have talked about the economy. He would have said on account of times are bad. And the economy is an example of one of these terms from the social sciences, particularly economics, that's worked its way into ordinary everyday usage. And that's really the history of the 20th century, is sociology, psychology, economics, anthropology. All of these fields introduced new words that have worked their way into values in that sense. Was an introduction from German sociology long before Spiro Agnew got hold of it.